We change mobile phones very quickly, as newer and better models are constantly being released. Unfortunately, many of us are not aware that phones can be reused, and so they end up in the bin with the rest of our waste. By reusing old mobile phones, we can help save natural resources and also save some money by using these old phones instead of buying new appliances. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to use your unwanted Android phone to self-host your website for almost free. Of course, I suppose you have internet access at home. Now, let's see the software you will have to install in your Android to make it a web server with a fixed hostname reachable from the internet. First, you need to download and install the dynamic DNS Android client. To be able to configure this client, you should subscribe and create your hostname. For more information, please see my previous video. Then, you should install any Android web server you want. For this demo, I'm gonna use Server for PHP as it includes a web server, PHP library for dynamic websites and MySQL database.
To set up everything, you should, first, assign to your mobile phone a static IP address. Configure the dynamic DNS updater client that you have installed on your Android phone. Configure the web server that you have installed on your Android phone. Configure port forwarding in your home router to forward incoming traffic in port 80 to the IP and port of your web server. Now, let's see how to do all that. How to configure a static IP address on Android. The steps will vary with different versions of Android. But anyway, I'm gonna show how I did it using my Android phone. First, go to Settings, then click on About Phone. Then click on Status. Click on IP address and set your static IP and gateway. The gateway is the private IP address of your home router, and it is usually 192.168.1.1. Hence, your static IP address should be like 192.168.1. something. Now that you have set a static IP address, let's configure the dynamic DNS updater client that you have installed on your Android phone. Open the dynamic DNS client and insert your hostname and its token. Then, enable the IP update. The public IP address of your router will be updated in few seconds. Until this step, your router can be reached from the internet using the hostname that generated the IP address update. However, any traffic will stop at the router and will not reach your web server. To reach your web server from the internet, you should configure your router to forward incoming requests to your web server. We will do that shortly. But before, let's configure the web server. After installing the web server on your Android phone, you have to put your web page files in the right folder of the web server. For this, open your Android file manager and browse to the public folder of the web server. Then put all files and folders related to your website in this public folder. The remaining thing to do in your web server is to configure its listening IP address and port. For that, open the server's application. There are many parameters to set. Luckily, not all are mandatory. You can leave their default setting untouched. However, the IP address and port must be set. In Server Address and Port section, click on Change. In the Server Address drop-down menu, choose the static IP address of the Android phone. Then the server port. You can choose port 8080 like in this example. But you can also give different port as you wish. Save the changes by clicking on Change button. Now you are done with the web server configuration. You need to start the server. Click on Start Server. Your server will start and will listen to port 8080 in this example. The website requests coming from the internet will reach your router on port 80, then they should be forwarded on port 8080 of your Android phone. This is done by the IP forwarding functionality of the router. So, the last step is to configure the IP forwarding in your router. The IP forwarding configuration is very simple, and it is usually only one entry in your router's administration interface. Different router types will have different admin interfaces. But the main idea behind configuring IP forwarding is the same. You will only need to find the right field to fill in your router's interface. Make sure to insert the static IP address of your Android phone for destination IP and port 8080 for destination port. For source IP address, choose Wide Area Network, and for source IP port, insert port 80. In the description of this video, I have added a link where you should find how to set your router for IP forwarding. Testing your setup. Let's test if everything works as expected or not. It is important to note that the test should be done from outside your home network. You can do that by using a 3G, 4G, or 5G connection. The test from inside your home network will not work, as no port forwarding is done in your home router for internal or private traffic. Let's do the test then. Congratulations! It works like we expected.